Good evening, folks. Welcome to another edition of It's Hard But It's Fair. I'm your host, Arshawn. Let's jump right into it. Tonight, we're going to start a new segment of the show, and it's going to be current events. I have a couple of current event topics. Let's jump right into it. My first current event topic, Suge Knight, of all people, is chiming in on the tragedy that befell rap superstar Nipsey Hussle. Suge Knight says Nipsey Hussle's loyalty got him killed in reference to his loyalty toward his neighborhood where he grew up, the neighborhood that produced him, and where he learned everything that he did about manhood, about the streets. He said that his loyalty got him killed. Now, I've heard things said about making money, about becoming successful. Once you make it, you have to leave the hood. I've heard people say that. And I've heard in the black community, I've heard people ridiculed for this type of thinking. When I make my money, I'm going to exit the ghetto, the hood. And I think the phrase was, the hood eats its own. I think that's the phrase that I've heard people say in the past. And I don't know. I feel two kind of ways about it. On one hand, I do understand what Suge Knight is saying. And on the other hand, I respect and I admire what the good brother Nipsey Hussle was doing. I am who I am because of these streets. So I'm going to put my money back here. And I think on a large scale, if successful people from the inner city did that, then we would help eradicate the mindset that I'm going to take his, or the jealousy and envy and the hatred that some of us have for one another in the inner cities. So I'm not going to burn a whole bunch of gray matter on what Mr. Suge Knight thinks, but I want to say it's a tragedy what happened to the good brother Nipsey Hussle. I want to say shout out to Lauren London and his other children's mother and his family, his whole camp. I know this is a supreme loss for the entire country. So shout out to everybody. Condolences all the way around. And that leads right into the next current event, which is a news anchor for Fox. Her name is Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham mocks Nipsey Hussle's funeral. Like the day after his funeral, for whatever reason, I do not know. I don't know what the basis for her even bringing it up was, but she mentions, the tragedy that befell him. And then she plays a snippet of a music video that he had a verse on, and it was FDT, Fuck Donald Trump was the name of the song. And why she did that, I don't know. It appears that she's trying to shine some type of negative light on him. And if that's the case, if that's her motivation, man, Miss Ingram, shame on you. And to be on a big network like Fox, and for them to okay that, man, I'm really side-eyeing Fox News right now, because that was tasteless. That was tacky. Or as the old folks would say, uncouth. I think that phrase fits this particular situation perfectly. That was very uncouth. I don't think that was okay for any reason. This man lost his life. His family is out here grieving, and she's like making jokes, because her and the other guy, they were like laughing about it, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, actually. It was a real tragedy. Miss Laura Ingraham, shame on you. Fox as a network, shame on you guys for that. And this rolls right over into the next topic, which is Childish Gambino, a.k.a. Donald Glover. He rocked the house over at Coachella the other day, and he had a very passionate spoken word where he acknowledged the loss of the good brother Nipsey Hussle. Also, the loss of his own parents. And I guess to kind of change gears a little bit, he jumped down in the crowd and had a smoke session with a fan, an unsuspecting fan who apparently was blazing. I thought that was pretty cool. He seems like a really cool, positive person. And then he had a little impromptu, sing along, and it was a cool thing. And he just tried to move the energy in a positive way. And shout out to Donald Glover. I'm a big fan of his. And my last current event topic it comes from Laguna Beach, California. Get this. Laguna Beach City Council members are deciding whether or not putting the American flag on police vehicles was a good idea. So the letters police are on the side of the vehicles, very wide, and in the background of the letters, they plastered Old Glory back there. And some citizens of Laguna Beach are very concerned about this because they say it's a very aggressive message. It sends it's very bold, and it's cause for concern, according to some citizens. And it was alluded to that this was due to the climate that our president, Mr. Donald Trump, has put us in, due to the tension between race relations and everything like that. There are citizens who are concerned that foreigners will see this as an act of aggression when they see that American flag and everything like that. And then there's the other half who believe that having Old Glory plastered on the side of the police vehicles is the epitome of patriotism. Now, mind you, my brain works in a weird kind of way, because I couldn't really get behind either side. I came like from a whole another side of left field, because the first thing I thought was, how much did that cost? You just got a whole new fleet of vehicles, and then you put this custom paint job on the whole fleet. This is Laguna Beach, California, so I'm sure they got big money. But still, I think there are like 2 million homeless people in the state of California. How many people could that possibly have helped, that extra money that they spent, that extra tax money that they spent? These are public servants. So that money came from the state. That money comes from the government. These are our tax dollars. Personally, as a working man, I'd prefer to see my tax dollars working toward helping some of these homeless people, helping some of these homeless veterans, versus decking out the police's new fleet. I just felt that. I felt that was like a slap in the face, especially when I see how many taxes they take out of my check every week. I just kind of feel, I don't know, like that's kind of foolish. But hey, it is what it is, man. Now that we are done with our new segment, Current Events, we're going to jump right into tonight's topic. And as I promised, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, as I promised, it is a slapper. So tonight's topic, the name of the topic is, are women trained to barter their yoni in exchange for a sense of security? First, I want to address the word yoni, because we're in the climate of Me Too and women empowerment and feminism and all of that stuff. So I don't want to get bashed because people think that I'm using a disparaging term when I refer to the female reproductive organ as yoni. Let me read the definition of that so that you guys will understand why I say that. That isn't slang. The word yoni is a Sanskrit word that has been interpreted to simply mean womb. And also they use it to reference any of the female's genitalia, the vulva, vagina, uterus, so on and so forth. It's used interchangeably that way. All right. Anyways, getting back on topic. Are women trained to barter their yoni in exchange for a sense of security? Question number 1. Do we teach our daughters to pursue men of means versus seeking true love? Question number 2. Are sex and marriage acts of love, or are they business transactions? Ooh. Question number 3. Are we fostering a trick prostitute dynamic in society? Are we, as a society, playing the game of cop and blow? That's the way I've heard it referred to on some of the old 70s blaxploitation films. It's cop and blow, baby. And that's the philosophy of pimps and hoes. But it appears that it's our philosophy in society at large. We just use different language. We just don't say cop and blow. Anyways, first question was, do we teach our daughters to pursue men of means versus seeking true love? I'm about to say a few choice phrases that most people, if they're honest, they have heard. What car does he have? What kind of car does he have? Does he have a car / what kind of car does he drive? Look at his shoes, girl. I remember hearing women say the first thing you do when you meet a man is look at his shoes. You can tell a whole lot about him by looking at his shoes. Somebody just cracked up because they recognize that phrase and they know that that's been said. Does he have a job? Question 1. Sidebar. Does he have a good job? Now, I make light of it because I like for things to be light. I don't want it to be a get you conversation. You know what I mean? I want it to be light. But it's very serious because if we're teaching our daughters to go after men of means, then what that puts them in the mindset of doing is ignoring their intuition, because sometimes these guys are not the best guys. Sometimes a guy has a bankroll, he has money, he has, substance, he has his picks and chooses of women. I mean, I don't like to get religious, but ancient wisdom, if you ever hear me use the phrase ancient wisdom, I'm always talking about the Bible. I don't like to put people off because I'm not a religious person like that. So, but there is wisdom in that book. Ancient wisdom teaches us that, I'm sorry, I lost my thought. A rich man has a better chance, a camel has a better chance of going through the eye of a needle than a rich man has getting into the kingdom of heaven. That is a parable. It's an analogy. And what that means is it's very difficult for a person of means to believe in spirituality because he has money. I don't need God. I'll buy whatever I want. I can possess whatever I want. In essence, a lot of very well-off people that I've come in contact with, let me say this real quick. I believe I'm talking to intelligent people, so I don't have to say some, not all, not everybody. I don't have to do that. I'm speaking in general. I don't know everyone. So what I'm saying isn't applicable to every single person. So what I'm saying is, in general, guys who are very wealthy, basically, they're God to themselves. You know what I mean? The world revolves around them. They have their picks and chooses of whatever. Do we care about our daughter's potential suitors' values? Are we concerned about his spiritual health? There is a such thing as being spiritually unhealthy, spiritually bankrupt, morally bankrupt. How about this? Is he an abuser? These are qualities that I want my daughter to consider before allowing a young man to court her. I don't want her to look at his shoes. I don't want her to worry about what kind of car he drives or what kind of job he has. I want her to judge a guy based on his character. I want her to judge a potential suitor based on the way he treats her, based on the way she sees him treat other people. Because he can buy you a house and he can buy you a car and he can take care of you financially. All he did was just surround you with a bunch of trinkets. There are a lot of wealthy people who are unhappy. We know this. We know this. So, are we teaching our daughters to pursue men of means? Or are we teaching our daughters to judge a man based on his character? Let's dig deeper. Basically, no finance, no romance. That's what it always boils down to. It comes back to that. The number one reason for divorce isn't infidelity. 51% of marriages end in divorce. The number one reason for divorce, money issues. It always comes back to the almighty dollar. So, women can forgive a man who cheats. Women can forgive a man who's negligent. But women cannot forgive a man who's broke. In this country, this is a part of our culture. This is what we teach. Girl, you better get somebody that can take care of you. But I'm not going to put the onus for this societal norm on America, because this dates back to prehistory. You know, this dates all the way back way as far back as we can remember. You know, once upon a time in feudal times, what did they have? A dowry and everything like that. You wanted to have a daughter to marry her off to a wealthy man, you know, so you can get some ducats. How many kingdoms have been forged on marriages? So this has been a part of the human psychosis since the dawn of time. The woman has been seen as an object. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's the way that it should be. But sometimes our beautiful women are the main progenitors of this concept. Girl, he tried that. Look at his feet. What are those? I'm saying. So, oh no, I'm not going to mess with a broke dude. And then somebody like me who's a little bit mentally challenged who says, oh, so how much does it cost? They'll get offended with that because I'm not a prostitute. Yes, you are. That's how blunt I am with it, because we're just using different language. I tell guys all the time when they talk about it ain't tricking if you got it. Everybody's tricking if you look at it. If you're married, you're just tricking off on the same Yoni. That's the only difference between a guy who spends 40 or 50 bucks or 100 bucks. I don't know the going rate of a lady of leisure these days. I'm not sure. But what I do know is taking your wife out and doing this and paying the rent and I mean, you're paying for her. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is, in the climate of women's feminism and women empowerment, they still want these old ideas where the man pays the lion's share of the bills, if not all of them, where the man, you know, opens the door. They want all the perks of women of antiquity, as well as the perks of the Renaissance woman. And that's where I have a problem. That's where I have a problem. Are sex and marriage acts of love, or are they business transactions? As I spoke earlier, 51% of marriages end in divorce. And of those that 51%, the number one reason for divorce was money issues. Whether it be debt, whether it be mortgage pay, whatever the case may be, it always comes back to money. The number one reason. No romance without finance. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. I grew up in a historically Afrocentric household, so I heard these things growing up. These are the things that I heard growing up. There's a song, I forget who sings it. It's an ancient song. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. Janet Jackson, later on in the game, had a song, What Have You Done For Me Lately? Ooh, yeah. So, I mean, listen to Nicki Minaj, listen to Cardi B. All you have to do is listen to the music. It's there. And they're saying, I got to get my hair done, my nails done. I got to get these bundles, you know. And you got to get it for me, Joker. And if you're not going to get it for me, the Yoni box is on lock. How about that? So, my wallet, if you allow me poetic license, my wallet is directly connected to the Yoni box. As long as I'm willing to dig deep enough into the wallet, I have full access to the Yoni box. And that is not the way that it should be. Because I'm a good man and I treat you well and I'm a good person and you love me. The Yoni should be organic. My access to the Yoni should be organic. And I know that this is a concept that is possible and is feasible because slaves had that kind of love. They didn't have anything. They had no property. They had no money. There was no way for a man to do anything if he was a slave, indentured servant, whatever titles we want to use. And we're not just talking about the transatlantic slave trade when I say slavery. For my white friends and my white followers, don't get bent all out of shape by that. Let's not be sensitive like that. We can talk about it, okay? We can say it. It's, not the end of the world if I say slave. But anyways, during slavery, whether we're talking about African slavery, we're talking about, American slavery, whatever, people loved each other and they had nothing. And I think it was very beautiful because at any moment, master could decide to sell one or the other. You know what I mean? And you see in different stories and movies where they still carried that love with them. Because only thing that they had was who you are, the spiritual connection, the cosmic connection. That was it. Women, and I say this time and again, women are the most powerful beings on the face of the earth. When they're operating in their proper capacity, women are unstoppable. Do you know that a woman's menstrual cycle is connected to the moon? It's connected to the cosmos. Women have intuition that men could never even dream of. But they ignore it all the time. They saw the signs that this wasn't a good guy and they dealt with him anyway. Because he had the bag. That's the term that we use today, is the bag. He had the bag, so she was with it. So versus having something organic like love, like a connection. Man, that brother driving a new Challenger. He's driving a new Camaro. Never mind the fact that he's not a good person. Never mind the fact he's a person of poor moral character. He's driving a Benz. He got a Jag. He can get the Yoni. And so women end up in a bad situation because they've been taught to ignore their intuition. Because she saw signs that this dude was violent. She saw signs that this guy was a cheater. She saw signs that this guy wasn't a good person. But she ignored them in pursuit of the bag. Are we fostering a trick prostitute dynamic in society? Women are attracted to wealth instead of character. Women believe that you got to pay to play. And as long as that is the norm, you are going to continue to have chaos, as we do in our communities. Because anyone who comes around with the right kind of vehicle, the right kind of clothes, the right kind of wealth has access to you. And it's very important to understand why I come with this topic, because we're not just transferring a good time. We're transferring bodily fluids. We're transferring spiritual fluids. We're transferring energy. Whenever the lingam, which is a Sanskrit word for the male reproductive organ, and the yoni come together. When those things come together, it's supposed to be a thing of beauty, not a transaction based on what type of house you can put me in, or what kind of clothes you can put on my back, what kind of shoes you can put me on. Oh, you got little man fresh. He got my son G'd up. He got me over here looking good. Is he good? Yeah, that's all fine and dandy. You look well. But are you well? See, because a lot of times we have a God-shaped hole right in the middle of us, and we try to use man-shaped things to fill that hole. Not kicking no religion. I'm just saying we believe we have financial problems when we actually have spiritual problems. And I ain't talking about Creflo Dollar or no preacher or anything like that. I'm talking about the connection between self and the Most High, between the God in me and the great supreme ruler of the universe. Women's connection is much stronger than men's. Like I said earlier, a woman's menstrual cycle is connected to the lunar cycle. That's amazing in itself. So what type of magic can this creature create? They haven't even tipped the iceberg. Because where we're at in society, we are teaching them, and I will reach and say that it comes from men being in positions of power, recognizing the power of the woman and the yoni, and trying to still figure a way to control it and keep it squashed down and quell that radical power. That's what I think. Because why are these narratives promoted? Sometime back, I had a status on Facebook where I said, what if the dollar, if and when the dollar crashes, what will be the measure of a man? How will you measure a man if there is no wallet? The wallet is gone. The bank account is gone. Now we're looking at we're still going to look at it transactionally because that's the way we've been taught. This is a transaction. What have you done for me lately? What are you going to give me? Can you hunt? Can you fish? Can you build? Can you protect? Men, if we believe, are hunter-gatherers, that whole get down. But are women going to apply the same logic that we're using today to that man? Because I'm a conspiracy theorist, whatever you want to believe. I believe that the dollar is a fiat currency, and anyone who's known anything about history and the history of fiat currency, they always return to zero. A fiat currency means it is money because the governing body said that it is. That's, and when you just look it up. Just look it up, research the word fiat currency. The dollar only is because Uncle Sam said it is. It's a coupon, basically. And when the dollar, we're already losing ground, we've already lost ground to the euro. When the dollar finally collapses, how will women pick their men then? What are we going to do? I'll tell you what we need to do. What we need to do is change the climate. We have to change the climate. How do we do that, Arshawn? I'll tell you how we do that. We do that by making a conscious effort to change what we value. That's not talking about values, what we value. I'll tell you why a lot of young men in the inner city sell drugs. A lot of young men in the inner city do robberies because they think that's the fastest route to get them things. Because their value system is jacked up. What do we value? Jordans, rims, jewelry, prestige, hood fame. Our values are jacked up. The things that we place value upon, these trinkets that don't even matter next year. You buy, if you keep up with the latest trends, what do they last at? Well, I remember when I was in school, I don't know, maybe every 3 to 6 months. Now it's every week? After a week, nothing's hot. It could be a song. It's after a week. If it's a really, really good song, it might last a month. But it doesn't last any longer than that. We want the next new, the next new, the next new. And we have that same thing going on in our lives on the financial side of the game. Because we want the new. That's what we want. And we have to, as a society, have a psychic shift to where we place value on the right things. So many of us work so many hours and we're not spending time with our kids. Well, when we look at this topic, women trade their yoni for tangible things, for security, for a house, for someone to provide them with a living. Is this man a good father? Does he have the qualities of a good father? Does he have the qualities of a husband? Does he have the qualities of a boyfriend? We're not looking at those qualities. Why? Because we're looking for the bag. Everybody wants to get the bag. Well, I'll tell you what. The bag has kind of fucked us around, guys. And we need to kind of pump our brakes as a society. And we need to start looking at ways to move that mentality out so that we can provide something new. Because our women are our greatest resource. Our women are our greatest resource as a society. They are our first teachers. They raise our kids. They're so amazing and so awesome in their proper capacity. A woman, everything she touches, she multiplies and she manifests. You give her food, she makes you a meal. You give her your seed, she gives you a child. You buy her a house and she'll give you a home. But if all she's focused on is the bag, all she's going to end up doing is giving you a hard time. The only thing that a woman who chases the bag is going to be good for is one thing: throwing her legs in the air, face down, tail up, that kind of situation. And that's exactly why we're in the crisis that we're in as a country. You look all over this country. Teen pregnancy is at an all-time high. R. Kelly isn't the only old guy messing with young kids. It's just ostracized because he's R. Kelly. It's happening all over the country because everyone thinks they need to get the bag. We need to grab hold of influential people like Cardi B, like Nicki Minaj, and we need to start heralding positive lyrics. I've heard one of those young ladies tell women they need to start selling Yoni if they're broke. And I was like, wow, my daughter can't listen to you. But when I look around, you look on social media, you get these bots and you get things there, and there's passive aggressive prostitution going on all the time. They'll send you an inbox. They will message you, and it's prostitution is going on. They say it's the oldest profession known to man. I don't think we should revert back to prehistory. I think that as a society, we're supposed to be progressing. But if we continue to have the mindset that women are supposed to only entertain men who can provide things for them on the financial side of the game, our society is going to continue to digress. I promise you that. Nothing good is going to come from a society when the most powerful, the most precious, the most awesome being known to that society is not operating in a proper capacity. Hey, I know what I'm saying. It's hard, but it's fair.